Hello, my name is Zaina, and on behalf of the Office of International Student and Scholar Affairs, also known as ISSA, welcome to the University of Notre Dame. ISSA is here to support you as you navigate your upcoming journey to Notre Dame's campus. This is the first of a monthly series of pre-arrival videos to prepare you for this adjustment. Today's topic is housing, which we hope will help you as you begin looking for your housing accommodations in the South Bend area. To get started, we're going to list a few terms that you should be familiar with as you navigate this search for housing. The first one is lease. The lease is the contract that outlines the terms you agree to when you rent a particular accommodation. The lease will change from one property to another. It tells you how much money you will owe to the landlord, for how long, and what rules are in place for that particular period of time. We have had students in the past ask about signing two leases and then decide when they arrive to the campus area which lease they will pursue. Please note that we do not advise this. The lease is a legally binding agreement, and it's not easy to get out of once you sign. All of this is to say, do not sign two leases. You should only sign one, the property which you will be renting for your time here. The next term is credit. Credit in the context of renting refers to your history of borrowing and repaying money. Having good credit, meaning that you've repaid money that you've borrowed on time, can make it easier to get approved for a range of credit products, things like a credit card, a loan, or in this case, it will make you more eligible as a candidate for renting a property. Those who are new to the United States will not yet have a credit history. This is something important to be aware of before signing a lease. The next term is landlord. The landlord is the owner of the property that you are renting. This is the person that you would go to with any concerns about your lease or residence. Next is guarantor. A guarantor is someone who signs the lease with you and agrees to pay the rent if you yourself, as the renter, are unable to pay. A guarantor may be required by some properties if you do not meet the credit requirement or the income requirement on your own. Even for the guarantor, signing the lease is legally binding. So this isn't something that you would ask of your advisor, your professor, or even a friend. The next term is security deposit. The security deposit is money that you give to your landlord in addition to the cost of the first month's rent. This is to serve as proof of your intention to move in and to take care of the residence that you will be renting. The security deposit can be used to pay for damages or lost or stolen property when your lease ends or when you move out. The security deposit can either be refundable or non-refundable depending on the terms of that transaction. This would be an important question to ask at the time that you sign the lease. Next is utilities. Utilities include services like electricity, internet, water, gas, sewage, trash, etc. These services are typically not all included in the base rent cost. Be sure to check your lease terms to know which utilities are included in the cost of rent. Next, we wanted to direct you to a resource offered through the University of Notre Dame on their off-campus housing website, offcampus.nd.edu. This will be a good place to help you find housing accommodations, roommates, and a variety of other resources. The University of Notre Dame partners with apartments.com to help you with this search. One of the best resources to be aware of is this rent affordability calculator. This will tell you approximately how much you should or could be spending on rent based on the money you have available to you, or perhaps your income if you have a stipend on campus. A few reminders about signing a lease. The first one is to check the proximity to Notre Dame's campus and the proximity to the South Bend City Bus access. This will be particularly helpful to know because even if you're within walking distance of Notre Dame's campus, in the winter when the weather is more severe, walking may not be reasonable, and it may be helpful to know which bus is closest to where you're going to be living. The second reminder is to check if the housing is furnished or unfurnished. You may be able to pay more money to have a furnished apartment, or perhaps less money each month, but more money upfront to furnish an apartment yourself. Next, be sure to check the rental term length. Some apartments only allow 12-month leases. This will be particularly important for those of you who will be in the South Bend area during the 9-month academic year, but may be planning to travel home for the summer. Next, it's important to pay attention to whether or not the apartment is rented by the unit or perhaps by the room or the bed. This will also impact the cost of rent. It's important to understand what that rent is including. The fifth reminder, wait to sign your lease until your F1 or your J1 visa is approved. Again, we mentioned that a lease is a legally binding agreement, which means that it's not easy to get out of once you sign it. If you sign a lease and ultimately are not able to get the visa or arrive to campus on time to begin your program, you may still owe that money. Again, we wouldn't advise signing a lease until you have your F1 or your J1 visa approved and you're sure that you're going to be arriving to Notre Dame to begin your program on time. The next one is to check the leasing office hours to know when you're going to be able to pick up your key to your apartment upon arriving in the South Bend area. If you arrive to South Bend very late at night, it may not be possible for you to pick up your key to move in that night, and you may need to make other accommodations, such as a hotel, for that first night, and then you'll be able to move in the next day. A few other associated fees with renting. The first one is the application fee. Every application you submit to rent in the area may require a fee just to submit the application. This is typically a non-refundable fee. The next one, as we already discussed, is the security deposit, which is typically paid upfront with the first month's rent. Many apartments will give you the security deposit back after your lease has concluded and you're moving out, as long as there aren't any significant damages that they would need to use the deposit to cover. As we also discussed, utilities may be in addition to the base cost of rent. There is also the cost of setting up or furnishing the apartment in the event that you get an apartment that is unfurnished. There is often a fee for paying the rent online as opposed to giving a check. So it's usually a couple dollars added on to the monthly rent. So this would be a good question to ask when you're about to sign the lease. And finally, renter's insurance. Many apartments will require that you have renter's insurance, which is usually a small monthly amount that you pay to insure your items in the apartment in the event of something like a fire or stolen property. So that's all for today, and we will be in touch again soon next month with information about life in the South Bend area. Take care.